So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So, when we last left off, we were working on our neuroquantum processor factory. Now, let's see here. Let's see if I can figure out what exactly we were doing. So, I believe we had done a lot of the plastic-related things. So we have our circuit boards and our AI limiters. Probably some other things as well. So, I think now that we have the circuit boards, let's start making Caterium computers, probably. So we grab some circuit boards and some quick wire and some rubber. So, circuit boards will be first because we're right here. So, how many of those do we have? How many of those do we need? Let's see, this production line makes a lot, but we don't need all of them. We need 53.341. The weird uneven ratios. Okay, so we have 9 machines making 15.077 times 9 is 135.693, and we need that to get to 53.341. Okay, well, maybe we can get lucky with the ratios of this. Yeah, probably not, right? 15.077. Definitely nothing there. So, let's see here. How many circuit boards total are going into the other thing? So the radio control system is the other place circuit boards go, and it gets 82.349 plus 154.684. Is that an even number? It's better, but still not really. I think we're still going to wind up still just going to wind up using this and splitting it precisely. So, let's get that figured out then. We need some room for a precise splitter because they are somewhat bulky. So we will be doing that back here behind the sink. And just build out a nice, good area like this. Okay, so hopefully that's at least enough for a start. Let's fill in that gap a little bit just so we can get it around easier. So this is a Mark III belt that is going to come around this way and around to here. Actually, wait a minute. No, okay, yeah, we only need one splitter for the circuit boards no matter how I organize it, because the excess from this one and all the ones from the other circuit board production line are all going to the radio control systems, so those can just be all merged up from the overflow here. I was trying to think, like, if we also needed to split the other circuit board production, then we might be able to save some effort, but we don't. So, we need to get 53.341. So, let's start with some signs. Now, 53.341. So, I could either do... There are technically a couple ways of doing this. I could either do 53 plus 341 divided by 1,000, Or I could do 533 plus 41. Or I could do 533 divided by 10 plus 41 divided by 1,000. It seems like just the more straightforward way is easier, so we go 53 plus 341 over 1,000. So 53 is 60 minus 7, and 7 is a bit of a nuisance. So 7 times 3 is 21, which is 30 minus 9. Is 9 more achievable than 7 is? Yes, 9 is relatively easy to get. It's 45 divided by 5, and 45 is just 3/4 of 60. So let's get this all charted out. So 53 is 60 minus 7, and 7 is... Wait, what was I thinking? No, wait, that's just needlessly convoluted. There's got to be a better way. So 7 times 5 is 35. So that leaves us with 60 minus 25, or 30 plus 5. So how do you get 25? It's 25 is 50. Okay, wait. I think 75 should be 60 plus 15. Yes. Alright, so 35 is 60 minus 25. 25 is 75. Actually, no, there's an easier way. It's 20 plus 15. That's way easier. Okay. So that works for the 53 half. So we just have to get 7 out, which just works like this, and then we're good. So the 0.341 half, so let's see here, 341 is, let's see here, 341 minus 270 is 71, which is 60 plus 11. That's not tremendously helpful. So what about 480 minus 341? 139 is 120 plus 19, which might... still not ideal. That just extra 1 is a huge pain. So, because if this were just 340, okay, let's do it this way. It's 480 minus is 340 plus 1. 480 at 340 is 480 minus 140, and 140 is 120 plus 20. Okay, so I guess that is what we're doing here. This seems more complicated than my previous versions of the precise splitters, but it's not that bad still. So, anyways, let's get this started. We have a smart splitter. We have a smart splitter, which is going to be actually first we need a smart splitter just to get it into this area at all. So we need some of this to just pass on to the next thing. What's it called? The radio control systems. And so we need an overflow splitter for that. Then in here we need a smart splitter, which I could have sworn I set this to left. No, I clicked none. So in here we need a smart splitter going this way so that we can split into the 53 half and the 341 half. So let's start with the 53 half because it's a lot easier. So we start with a belt of 60. Okay, so we start with this. No, but we actually need a merger in there first before we can split it out. So we have our merger, and then this is going to be our belt of 60 that goes forwards, and then we have a belt of 7 which will loop out. And so, in order for the belt of 7 to work, we first need to get 20 and 15. So actually we need separate belts for each of those. Hang on, wait. This is complicated, actually. So this is the main line 60 belt. So our final output will be going out there. This belt over here has to be the one that outputs 7. So I think it actually needs to be a Mark II belt here. And actually it needs its own merger as well. So we have that merger. Then we have a smart splitter for the 20, and I guess we could just take the other output of that smart splitter for the 15. So we go U, and we have to take 1/3 of this forwards and send 2/3 of it back. So we do that and that, and then you loop around to there. You get priority medium there. Then you can go forwards to that way, and you are going to be left any center, I guess also center any. If this is going to be 120, then it should just split evenly. So then this output here, this is 20. Then we get this output here, which also takes 60, but we only want 1/4 of it. So we split U again, and then most of these outputs go over this way. So we have 60 going in there, 30 go that way, 30 go this way, 15 go that way, 15 go this way. So then we just merge these two up. So those two merge up, so this is 35. And then we get our 1 to 5 balancer, which is extreme overkill for this, but it's fine. So then we need to take 4 of these back and 1 of them forwards. So this doesn't need to split because we're just going to send all 3 of those back. It just needs to merge up and go like that. And then it will merge up with that. It's the 4th output. And then we are going to need this to connect back. And make sure that this line is fast enough to take everything that it could possibly need. And then that merger goes back to that merger. And here we have our 7. And then this belt then loops around back this way. And finally goes back into that one, which is going to be priority medium, right? So we have only 7 can get through this loop at a time to go back into here, which means that this belt should be 53. Now, if I just set this all up to be right any center overflow, that should give us our belt of 53, and let's just label that real quick. 53. So this is hard to say whether it's doing its thing or not. Oh, this definitely is supposed to loop back, and I've just forgot to actually do that. So you loop back into there, out to medium, and that is probably right. So then the next step is the 341. So we need to get this belt to go forwards a bit, far enough to be out of the way, and then once we're back here, we can start with our 341 setup, which is 480 minus 140. So that's easy enough, and then we just have to get the 1 out. So we start with, this is limited to 480, right? Right, but we need to actually merge it to get to that point. So you are a priority merger. You go into there. Then past that, we have a smart splitter. And you get connected up with a Mark IV belt, so that will be 480 once everything loops back. Then we take out 120 and we just merge you back. And this is probably going to have to be faster because we're probably going to have to add other things merged in on that side. So then we also, let's see, this has to continue being a Mark IV as it goes through. We also need a 120, or just a regular 20 split out, which actually needs this to be a little bit different. So then this all goes in like that. So that's 480 minus 140. And then were we adding 1 or subtracting 1? It's 340 plus 1. So right now we have 340. We need to add 1 onto the list. So if this belt here is 480, then this belt out here is 340, which means we actually need a smart splitter here. So this would be right any center overflow probably. I don't think it matters. Just want to give it specific directions on which order to proceed in, just so that it doesn't do a random 50-50 or anything. So then we just need to get a 1 out, and that is a Mark 1 belt divided by 6, so that'll get us down to 10. So let's actually get this to have its merger in. So we have a Mark 1 belt going through here. Then it's divided into 6, which means we divide it into 3 and then another 2. So we get another one there. And then we need a merger there to connect up to all of those guys. And then this one just connects back naturally. You get your priorities. And so this belt here should be 10. And if we then add on a 1 to 10 slower, then that should be that. So 10 to 1 belt slower. Just goes in like that. And connects in. This is backwards. This is backwards. I always forget that this 10 to 1 belt slower, it looks like it should point in the opposite direction that it actually should point. Alright, so that... Fortunately we have labels, so it's difficult to actually get too confused. So the input goes into there, then the return to merger, I believe, will just be going into here. So if you just attach in like that, then 9 out of the 10 should go that way. This should be a belt of like 29 or something. Okay, and then we have our 1 output, and that merges up with this. So this should be 341. And then we need the 1 to 1,000 contraption, which also looks like it should point the other way than it does. So you get lined up like that. And then this goes into the input, and that needs to be a Mark IV belt. That needs to be a Mark IV belt. So that is 341 in. And then most of this will go out that way. And I believe it needs to merge up back here somewhere, just somewhere out of the way. And I think, actually, yeah, just back here prior to everything else is the right spot for it. So that connection goes there, and this is going to be something that we just go underground for. And so we just connect up like that. Is that actually connected? I don't think so. So let's make sure to connect it. So that goes back and in. And then we drop down and get our underground belt across. So we get that one, we get that one. Pop the belt in. And that should be everything. We just set that to medium priority. We need these to be left any center overflow, left any center overflow, and all of these should be fine as they are. Okay, I think if we give this splitter access to left any, actually, let's make it be left overflow just to be sure. So that should work out. And then we need to actually get the output somewhere, which is going to be a little cramped actually. So I think we don't want this pointing that way. I think we want this pointing the other way. So this belt goes out there, and then this is the belt of 53, so it can wrap around here and then just sneak past that way, and now we can merge them up. And then, now that they're all merged, they can get a sink to go into, just to make sure that it works correctly before I build the next part. So then that goes into there, and it should be a Mark 1 belt. Okay, now this looks a whole lot like it's just a full 60, but it shouldn't be, right? There should be some stuff going out this way, and it might just be because this is backlogged. So hopefully, yeah, okay, there is the occasional gap. That's good. That's what we want to see there. And then over here, this side is just looping around in circles. Okay, let's power this sink up. So we have stuff going in, we have stuff coming out, and approximately 1 in 1,000 of these should make it up here. It shouldn't be approximately 1 in 1,000. It should be exactly 1 in 1,000. And it looks like that is happening. So let's get some signs on here so I can tell. So we get you, and you, and one on you. So this should be 341. It's showing 360, which means one of these, okay, yes, you. What is this? Did I do this wrong? This is supposed to be 20 output, but in order for that to work, we actually need these other two outputs to do something. Okay, so those two need to actually merge in back to the main group, I think. So we get that and that. So that is only 20 output instead of 40. And then we need another merger in here. And, oh, this needs to be connected across as well. So then we need that to come along there. And then connect up. So that should be fixed. Let's get a throughput monitor on. And it should now be 341. And I think we are seeing the occasional gap in the belt, which is good, although it's still just showing 360. It's still just showing 360. Is that... Okay, now it's showing lower, which is good. So So we're going to have to see if that evens out correctly. Then this one is showing 53, which is exactly correct. So that is all good. And this, yeah, it's figuring out and is going down to the 340s. So that should be all set for the circuit boards. Now that we have those, we need to look for the quick wire and the rubber. So the quick wire, let's see here, where is the quick wire? Quick wire, quick wire, quick wire. Where would you be? There's regular wire. There's all this stuff over here. More regular wire. There's stators. If I were a quick wire factory, where would I be? Oh, also I see some yellows. So let's figure out what's going on with these guys. Looks like it might be a plastic shortage. Yeah, so these guys aren't getting enough plastic, and this is the main circuit board production. Okay, so why are you not getting enough plastic? You are supposed to be getting 618.735 plastic, and you seem to not be getting that. So this belt is buffering, which means we have more plastic than we need, but it's not going through correctly. So what is this? We have Mark III, so that's 270. That's Mark III, so that's 270. That's Mark II. 270 times 2 plus 120 is 660, which should be more than enough. Okay, wait, no, I see. This is the problem. That belt needs to be a Mark IV, otherwise this 120 here is just being wasted. So now we actually have 270 plus 270 plus 120 instead of just 540, which would have been 70-ish short. So now that problem is fixed. Alright, so that should trickle through and eventually start working, and here's the quick wire. Okay, so we have our quick wire here, and it seems to be doing some stuff. Right, this is one of the more complicated splitting setups. So here we have 422.226. Where is the quick wire for the instructions? How many places does this go? There's so many little lines everywhere that it's difficult to see individual ones. Alright, so the quick wire goes to 3 places: 422, 581, and 186, which is the one we're looking for. Now, so this is the 422 split out. This is the 581 split out. So I think if we just take a branch off of this, then it should be correct. Alright, so that is easy enough. And we're going to be bringing this over that way because that's where the circuit boards are. Should we go down a level? At this point, I think we probably should. This level is quite expansive, that it's quite difficult to actually get stuff out of here. So we get a floor hole, and this is 186, so it just needs to be Mark III, and it needs to go through this, which in this part of the map is a mini floor. I know elsewhere in the map it's a full-on floor. such as the slightly weird way that these things have been designed here. Alright, so that goes down through the floor. And let's see, this is like the current level that the factory is at. So, I don't think, actually let's check, do we have any more refineries that we need to do? No, we have blenders for the nitrogen gas at some point. But I don't see any refinery stuff that doesn't need to be done yet. So this, we should probably just make it a full 10 floor, just to be sure. It doesn't hurt anything. We've got more than enough space. So that expands out, will be the start of the floor. And then we go to our foundation blueprint, and we just have to build out some space down here. And I mean, we're going to need a lot more than that, obviously, but that will be something to start with. So you get set to left overflow. So we have our quick wire going down. And then this, oh, I'm in the wrong hotbar. So then this comes all the way down to here, like that. And that doesn't connect up right at all. How the heck did that happen? You go all the way down like that, and now I have to check to make sure nothing bizarre happened. No, it looks good. What did that even connect to? How did that happen? Did I, like, connect to this output there somehow? Weird. Alright, anyways, we have our quick wire down on the next floor. So then the next thing we need is we need to head over here to grab the circuit boards. So this we need to put in the smart splitter. And this is 53 something, so it just needs a Mark 1 belt. So that comes down to here. And we need to expand this foundation all the way over to it. And that just sort of goes like this. And we just pop these along until we get there. Okay. It's actually like over this way. Alright, so this is the right area, and now we need to swap hotbars again and bring us our conveyor lift down. Alright, so that is quick wire, check. Circuit boards, check. Next we need our rubber. We need 80.011 rubber. So, let's see. How much have I even done with this rubber? I think I made the heat exchangers with it, but I don't think I've done much otherwise. So, rubber, where are you? Alright, where is the rubber? It should be easily findable here. Yes, here's the rubber. So the rubber goes all the way down over to this way, and then down through the floor, and it's over here. Okay, so this is the spot where I split out the 45 or whatever rubber for that. Then this is where the rest of the rubber is going to wind up going. So let's get this in. And that is just going to go down a level or two. Let's see. So it has to go down through that part of the floor. And that doesn't line up quite right. It needs to be a little bit further back. Okay, so that goes down. And that is our rubber. If I just get this set up to be right overflow. There we go. So the rubber goes down here. And then we need to get this floor brought over. So the floor comes over this way. And then like one over this way. And then this comes down. There we go. Okay. So that's all that. Now we just have to combine these guys up in a couple manufacturers. Just 4 manufacturers will do the trick. So let's get those in. Find some space filled in up there. And then manufacturer blueprint. I think I don't actually have a proper manufacturer blueprint, but we have this supercomputer's blueprint, which basically works. So this goes in, and it does fit within this layer. So that's good. And then you just get aligned in like that. And then we want another one to go there. So we have our 4 manufacturers for Caterium computers. Okay, so then we need to get these inputs. So we need 80.011 rubber, which we're not going to do exactly because it's a direct input. So we're just going to get 90, which will be, we start with a smart splitter that this can go into. Then, so that can send the excess out to wherever we need it next. Then we need to just go splitter. Actually, we do need a merger in here. So we need a merger, a splitter, and a splitter. So then this merger takes like a little bit of input, which goes all the way through there. Then we take 30 of it out and wrap it back in to the input. So then this is 30, and then this will be 60, which we don't actually need that splitter for at all. Just need that to go like that. Alright, so this gives us our 90-ish, which comes out to there, and then we'll get all of these guys connected up before we attach it in. So this just goes like that. Those will be 45 each, so no problems with the belts there. Then we need to actually set these up with their recipes. So you get to be Caterium computer. And 13.335 divided by 4. So then we just copy paste that across to everything. Alright, so the rubber is in. Next we need power, and we need to connect that up to this floor. There we go. Alright, so this is the rubber attached. And then we need just a quick wire in the circuit boards, both of which I've already split. So it should be easy enough. We get this belt, which I need to set up apparently. Yeah, so that needs to go forward to there, left any center overflow. Alright, so are we getting this going? Yes, so this is now going properly. Circuit boards are coming on down. And we just need them to actually only go down to here. So we have to annoyingly remove that and rebuild it slightly shorter. And then it just goes directly in. Wait, no, we need to actually split these guys across first. So that just goes like so. And there we go. Okay, so that is circuit boards, check. And then finally the quick wire, which was a Mark III belt, I believe. It was like 180 or something. So this comes over this way and keeps going. Then it's going to curve around this way. And now it's in the right general area. Let's get this splitter in. And if this is 180-ish, then we're going to need Mark II belts in here for them, because that'll be like 90 each. And then that just goes in, and we should have our computers. So then we just need to get the sink all set up. Need a little bit of extra room out this way, and then a little bit of extra room out there. And then the sink goes in, and it gets a smart splitter. I don't hit all the wrong buttons first. It gets a smart splitter and gets powered up. Alright, so this one has started working. The other ones are a little bit further behind on the quick wire. Oh, we might actually... No, wait, it should be fine, right? So each of these individual belts only needs to be a Mark I. So yeah, we should be fine there. Okay. That's Caterium computers done. Now, I am very much... It's very close to losing track of what we have and haven't done. Have we made the batteries already? Let's see here. The batteries have sulfur going into them. So let's see if we can track down where our sulfur is. Okay, I feel like I remember doing the batteries. Okay, yes. We have the batteries here, although one of them is yellow. So let's figure out what went wrong with you. You aren't getting enough sulfur, apparently. So how is that happening? Is it the drone port? No, we've got plenty of sulfur in here. So is it this splitting that's wrong? Let's see here. So this needs to be at least 66.677, and I think I remember doing 70 for this. So we have a Mark IV there, which isn't running at full speed. So we have a Mark 1 going out this way. So that's 60. And it's going... oh, I know what happened. One of these out here is a Mark 1 belt. Let's see, is it you? No, is it... so we just have to go to Mark 1 selection and see when it stops highlighting properly. Alright, so it could be this... I bet it's this lift. Yes, there we go. So that was the problem. It was limiting to 60 per minute instead of the 67 or whatever. So aside from that, these are the batteries. Check. So the thing we're using the batteries for is super... oh, right. It's just supercomputer, actually. That was the right thing. So we're using super state computer for this alt. So we need our computers, which we just made for this. That's what the Katerian computers are for. We need EM control rods, which I believe we haven't done. We need batteries, and we need wire, which I believe we have done. So the next step is electromagnetic control rods, and that requires stators and AI limiters, and a pretty small number of both. So let's find the stator production. Let's see, where was that? I think it was down a level. One thing I could do is just like organize up, grab all of the different parts that haven't been fully used yet and bring them all down to the new floor. So I don't have to go running around 3 floors of factory looking for every individual thing. For now though, I think we're just gonna live with it as is. Okay, stators. Where are they? I could have sworn they were in this general vicinity. But that's circuit boards. Oh wait, here they are. I think that's them back here. We've got wire going into them. Yes. So here are the stators. And we have 2 ultimate destinations for stators, one of which are the motors, which we already have, and the other of which is the EM control rods. So, based on the fact that this looks properly split, if we just pop a floor hole in here and send these down, we only need like a tiny amount for this. So that is in. This will be set to right overflow. So we need not quite 7 stators per minute. Actually, almost exactly 6.66, but slightly more. It's 6.68, which means it's not a rounding thing. It's just a slightly different number, which is funny. Okay, so the stators are going down, and they just need to go down to this floor, which just comes out here, and then goes back up this way. So then we get a conveyor lift coming down. Alright, stators, check. Then we need AI limiters. And is that... okay, that's one of 2 things that need AI limiters. So, let's head back up and see if we can track down the AI limiters and what floor they're on. I believe they're over here, right? By the plastic and the Katerium. Okay. Yes. So here we have our AI limiters. Currently not in use for anything, and we're just going to be changing that. So this requires 4.445 supercomputers. Is that just a ratio thing? So we need... No, I think it's actually like a precise output. So if we trace this all the way down to the end, neural quantum processors, we're trying to make 40 of them, which means we need 40 supercomputers exactly. And we're getting 35.555 supercomputers from the other source, the OC supercomputer recipe. And then we're getting 4.445 from this. So that is a precise thing, which means that this isn't 4.4 repeating, basically, is my point. It's slightly more than that, which technically makes it slightly more difficult, although I think it should still be relatively straightforward. So let's expand out for a splitter here. So if we can get 4 and 445 out of our AI limiters, that would get it to work. The fact that these numbers end in 5 is very convenient. It means there should be a relatively elegant way of doing this. So we get a display sign down, and we get 4.445. And let's see here. Where does this go to? So we could do 44 and 45, which would be 16 to get to 44, and then 45 would be easy. So 16 times 5 is 80. That's a bit convoluted, and it would require 2 1 to 100 splitters, which I don't have a design for. Now 4, on the other hand, is 60 divided by 3 divided by 5, which is relatively straightforward to get. And then 445 is 35 off of 480, which I actually just did a 35. It's 20 plus 15, and it's easy, so let's do that. So this belt goes forwards, and we need a smart splitter to go into this splitting setup or not. So it'll be center any, right overflow. How many AI limiters are there total? Like 30-ish? Yeah, like 30-ish. Alright, so we have this. Then we need to first get the 4. So, okay, we need another smart splitter here to split between the 4 and the 450 whatever portions. So this, we go forwards, we have our 60 divided by 3. So let's get a priority merger, actually, because that is going to be necessary here. So this belt speed is locked at 60 per minute. And we then divide it by 3. 2 of those thirds go back. And we'll worry about... Okay, yeah, so we are going to have our 1 to 5 splitter in here, so that this is going to need to be a merger to go back into it. So we have that, and then we need our 1 to 5 splitter setup. And let's see here. Blueprints, 1 to 5 balancer. you go in to... I hit the wrong button. I closed out too early. You go in there. And then we need 4 of these 5 to merge up. Which actually, it'd be easier to do it on this side, just because of how it's aligned. So you actually go in like that. And then I don't trust that belt to be correct at all. Yeah, no, that was wrong. Okay, so then that's connected in. This needs to be priority mediums on those. Okay, so then this doesn't need to split it because it's just going to be merging back up with the rest of it. So then this goes into there. You also loop back in. And then that goes into there. And that's 4/5 down. So that should leave us with 60 divided by 5 divided by 3. Which should give us 4 per minute off of this belt. So then we need this one to go out over here. And let's see, you are also going to need a priority merger, which can go in like so. Alright, so we have our priority merger. So this is going to be 480 minus 35, which should be quite easy to get. We just need a smart splitter and another smart splitter. So this way the 480 goes through. Then we need this to split into thirds and send one of those thirds back and the rest forwards. Then this one needs to split into fourths. Okay, I think we actually want to do this on either side. So if you split into fourths, you do something like that. So then that third goes back. This fourth goes back. So that's 20. That's 15. Which adds up to 35. And then we just need to merge up the remains. So we have our main line through there. Then we have this one, which goes there and there. So that's 40 going back in that way. And then we have that and that. So that should be 45 going back in that way. So the end result here is basically 480 minus 120 is 360 plus 45 from that way gives us back up to 405 plus 40 from this way. Actually, yeah, so plus 45 plus 40 equals 445. So then this belt is going to go forwards and into the old 1 to 1,000 contraption. So let's get all of this space available for that. I don't know how much space we actually need, but hopefully this will be enough. I feel like it's not that big of a contraption. I managed to make it relatively compact. Alright, you don't do auto connect mode, that's going to break things. Okay, so then you need to, I guess, go back to there. So then our input belt goes into that. And day 1,000,000 of wishing that this could go backwards. Could be flipped horizontally so that we could have the output over there and so we could have the merge back over there and the output over there, but we can't. So let's see here. This just has to all loop back into this, right? So if we just... Actually, is this doable? We can squeeze that into there, actually, and have it not go underground. So this belt just squeaks in through that way, and then is going to merge up with that. So you go forwards. So that is that. Then we just need this output is 4. This output is 0.445, and we get there. So one of these guys is going to have to go underground. Let's have it be you. So you just go across that way. And there we go. Now we just have to connect all you up. Actually, you need to be Mark 6 so that you're fast enough to compete with these other outputs. So let's make sure that that's the case, but immediately after that you can go back down to being Mark 1. Like that. Alright, then these guys merge up. And we should get our 4.445, which can go into a sink back here. So that goes forwards, and let's upgrade that power pole and connect it in. Okay, so this side of things is already working. We need to set right as overflow, I guess, to get some of that stuff. And this should work eventually. So it's obviously going to take a whole lot of this to build up before we can manage the full output of, what, 480 or so, when we're only putting in like a couple a minute. But it should get there eventually, and then we'll be good to go on that front. So that is mostly stationary, which is fine. This one is building up, and let's get throughput monitors on here and on there so that we can see if we've done it correctly. This should be 445. I need to set up these smart splitters. Right any center overflow. Left any center overflow. And this needs a belt connection. This one specifically isn't supposed to be connected. Okay, so that is correct now. And this is still going to be quite wobbly while it receives enough AI limiters to actually do its thing. It needs to warm up a little bit, but the production side of AI limiters is good enough. It's more than good enough for the 4.4 that we need here. So it just needs to get enough in here to warm up a little bit. And they kind of come in these giant bursts, which could be a bit of a problem, maybe. I don't know, it's probably fine, because this is also going to back up pretty soon. Oh, speaking of which, that needs to get its priorities in. I already gave that one. And then there are no other priority mergers. Alright, so yeah, this is starting to back up, which means that we should be all fine from there. This is supposed to be 445. It looks like it's hit a stable point around there, but just recently. So hopefully that is correct. Obviously, hardly anything is going to come through here, just like one every 2 minutes. Alright, so that's backing up, which is good, because it means that we won't have any weird problems with this belt, which is showing 4 minutes, so that's good. Everything looks like it's working. And then, eventually, this belt should back up itself until we're syncing stuff again. Because this is only 4 a minute out of like the 30-ish a minute that this production line makes. So we just need to give it a second before it gets fully done with all that. So that side is just like properly locked up at this point. And then this side is also seems to be mostly locked up, which is good. Alright, so I think this is all correct. Now we just pop this down a level. Is that facing the right way? Not sure. Yeah, it needs to be placed in like that. So we go right any, center overflow. So then we can take these down to this floor as well. And that will provide us with all the supplies we need to make the EM control rods. The other bit of that was the stators, which are all the way over here. Right, we're already running into having a whole lot of belts in slightly inconvenient positions, but I guess that's just not surprising. Like, it's reasonably likely to work out this way, I guess. It's fine, we have plenty of space, so you go up a tab, and then across, and then right back down. So just something like that will cross us over nicely. And then, actually, I don't want this. I want this to be proper full-scale 5x5 foundation mode. So this is all going to go in and fill up a whole bunch of space. And then we need literally just 2 assemblers of this. Literally like 1.1 assemblers technically. So this, our 3 assembler blueprint is a bit overkill for this, but that's fine. So that goes in there, and you just connect in. Then we run over here. This is the stator belt, right? It is. So then this belt comes on over, and it needs to go back up a floor. Which actually I could have used that. I could have used that to prevent the crossings on this floor, but oh well. Too late now. So then this just goes in like that. And now these assemblers get set to EM control rod default recipe. EM control rod, and we need 4.445 divided by 3. And then we paste that, copy the settings across, and we've got those. now we just need to connect the power line, which will be going back to this manufacturer row, like that. And we've got stators incoming. Obviously, a big chunk of them accumulated on the belt while we were waiting, but past that, it should be perfectly balanced. And we just need a sink for this. So these, we get their foundations out. And there we go. Smart splitter, connect the belt across, and EM control rods, check. So now we can make superstate computers with the EM control rods, the computers, the batteries, and the wire. We have computers there, EM control rods here. Batteries are somewhere up there, as is the wire. Let's see if we have to balance the wire or if it's been finished already. It very much might already be finished, unless there's more places that the wire needs to go. Let's see. So we have our wire. So the iron wire only outputs to 3 things. So we have this 622.2. We have this 111 point. Okay, no, this is actually the one we're looking for. So it looks like I did this split instead of the other one. That makes sense. So then this goes down in a Mark II belt. Wait, why does this... Okay, why does it seem like we have more different places the wire is going? How... Let's see. So the wire is coming in from here. We have one output back that way. Oh wait, no, these 2 outputs here are part of the same one. So that's one output. Then we have this output. Oh, this output and this output are all the 111.128. Right. And then the rest of this wire goes up a level for some reason. Oh, this is just because that's where the batteries are. Alright, that's incredibly cursed, but whatever. It's fine. So we just need to take this down, and the batteries are right here. So the batteries also need to go down a bunch of levels. So let's get those. And the batteries only go to this one spot, so there's no need for anything fancy with them. So that goes in. And then we need a little bit wider floors here for the floor holes to go through them. So that just goes on down. And then it goes down another layer. And that is slightly off-centered. So you are like that. Okay, so then the next layer is going to be an actual sizable one. So let's get these settings pasted in first. Right any center overflow. So now the batteries could come down here. And it's time for them to make a big drop down to this layer. And there's another intermediate layer in here, but that's just a belt layer, so that doesn't count. You can just go straight past that with no problems. So you go all the way down to there. And our wire goes down through there. So now we just need to, I guess, just poke a hole in the floor. and drop down ourselves. Okay, so these two are all the way out here. So bringing the foundation over here is going to be a bit of a chore. And it's going to require a lot of concrete. Fortunately, we have a lot of concrete. So this just comes out this way and all the way over to this general area. Return this way. So now we have that one. And we need to drop back here to get this one. Alright. So that should be good. So these are the batteries. They get a Mark 1 belt. And they get to drop down to here. Then these are the wires. They get a Mark II belt. And they get to drop down here. Okay, not clipping into the floor though. Need to go onto the correct layer. Okay. Batteries, check. Wire, check. EM control rods and computers, check. So now we just plop down another row of manufacturers to make our next thing. So that manufacturer row, we only need 2 manufacturers for it. So it can just be sort of anywhere in here. And let's just have it in this area, sort of in between the rest of the stuff. And let's see, how does this get lined up? Just like perfectly on that one, should be fine. So that goes in. And then this is Super State Computer. Where's that? Super State Computer. And we need 4.445 divided by 2. Copy, paste. Okay, so that's all that. None of these are greater than Mark 1 belts, so we don't need to worry about that. So now let's just start bringing all these guys over. And not weirdly off center like that. Okay, then we'll also grab the batteries. Oh, and those wires need to be... The wires need to be Mark II belts. I need to fix that. Mark II, Mark II. And is this a Mark II? It is. But I didn't set up their splitter. So I have to hop up here to fix that. So you are right, any center overflow. Splitter fixed. Alright, so that should have our wire. Yes, so now we have our wire going down. And we just have to drag these belts along all the way to the end. And let's see, this one, these two will take up the bottom floor, I think, just because they're both down here and the other ones are both up a little bit. So that makes more sense to do it that way. So these, the wire goes in there, and then the batteries come all the way around this way and go in there. Alright, batteries check, wire check, both of those are going along their belts. The wire is almost caught up to the batteries. Okay, we also need to power these, that's important. So let's just bring that over to there with a little stop in between for wire length reasons. Then this just needs to go around that way. This needs to go down like half a floor and then around that way. So let's bring this floor over to here and just pop it in like that. So our computers just move on over this sort of weird diagonally path, and then they go down a step. So now they're on this layer with the EM control rods, which are being successfully produced. Oh, and speaking of which, I need to set these splitters properly. So write any center overflow. And then these ones, hop over here. You are going to be write any center overflow. And then that will loop around that way. Okay, so now we just take this over to here, and then we get them just popped into either one. Doesn't really matter which one. I guess this one will go forwards into this one because that's the side of the track that it's on. Then this one, take the sharper curve around to the other side, and then in. Okay, so that is that. Now, have you actually sent any through? You're just very, very slow. But there we go. So we have computers heading along, we have EM control rods, and those should make our super state computers. And that is one of the major production chains finished. So the only thing, this is a neural quantum processor factory, but 95% of the work here is just in making the supercomputers, because we're importing the trigons, the time crystals, and the photonic matter is trivial. So this isn't all of the supercomputers we're doing, but we're getting our supercomputers from two sources. And that is one of the two sources done. And the other one has a lot more stuff in it. It's a lot bigger in terms of items per minute. But I don't know that it's necessarily massively more complicated, because complexity and scale are two different things. So, if we have it like this, it should be fine. Okay, so are these resources coming through? Yes, they're hilariously slow. But the batteries and the wire are both here. And these guys are making their way around. And that will be one set of supercomputers. Alright. So, then we need to work out what is left on the other step. So, the other way we're making these is OC supercomputers, which needs radio control systems and cooling devices, neither of which I've done. The cooling devices require heat sinks and motors, and I believe I've done the heat sinks and the motors, so then we just need nitrogen gas to make the cooling devices. So that is almost done. But then we also need radio control units, which I think I'm super far behind on. So we need we need crystal oscillators, rubbers, and circuit boards. Okay, actually, so it's just crystal oscillators then that we need, which are AI limiters, rubber, and quartz crystals, all of which I believe I have. Okay, so let's start with the insulated crystal oscillator. So we need crystal oscillator. Did I even select that recipe? I have. So we need the rest of our AI limiters, or not actually the rest of them. How does this work? How does this work? I'm dragging this... Okay. No, it is the rest of our AI limiters. I don't know why I thought there was some other place that used them, but there isn't. So yeah, we take the rest of our AI limiters, and yeah, so there's nothing else that we need those for. We take the rest of our AI limiters, we take our rubber and our crystal and our quartz crystals, and we put those together to make crystal oscillators. So step one is tracking all those pieces down. So let's see here. That's plastic. Where's the rubber? Where are the quartz crystals? Is this the only thing that the quartz crystals go to? It is. Okay, so those are probably going to be way back up at the top floor. So here's our rubber belt, which actually goes all the way down to the bottom floor already. So that'll be easy. The AI limiters actually, do those as well? Do those go into here? No. The AI, oh wait, do they go into... I could have sworn we had AI limiters here somewhere. Yes, for the EM control rods. So then the only thing we need to actually fully bring down are the quartz crystals, but then we need to bring down probably other copies of the AI limiters and rubber, because I think we already split the AI limiters. So, quartz crystals, probably over this way, if I were to hazard a guess. So there's Caterium, and yeah, quartz crystals all the way over here. And obviously this is working. The water hasn't broken anything, and we have our sink. Alright, so these need to just drop down. How many of these? It's a Mark III belt, seems. So we go left any, center overflow. And this should be able to just... Yeah, so this is just going to be able to go directly down all the way to the bottom level. And it's going to be way off in a corner because I haven't really done much of anything on this side of the factory. But it will be... That'll mean that we don't have to like stop through all the individual layers and stuff, because there's not going to be anything else out over here really. Although I guess we can have it pop through this level while we're here. So that goes down there. And that goes out. Then this pops down. Great, so we have that. That's like that level done. Then we just need to get all the way out to that floor hole that you can barely see up there. Oh, and this is backwards too. I need to make sure that that's correct. So this outputs down to the bottom and inputs in from the top. Okay, so this... we need to just sort of make our way over this way. And bring this down. So this belt comes down to there. And then it's going to curve around this way. Go forwards a little bit. Curve around into there. That's the quartz crystal moving through. So now we just drop down and bring this all the way. Actually, we don't need to bring it like all the way over yet because I'm not sure exactly where this production line is going to be, but we just bring it into like this general area so it's not insanely far away from everything. So we have quartz crystals there. We've got rubber. I believe the Mark 6 rubber belt is over here somewhere. Yeah, it's right there. So then the AI limiter belt is this one. And it needs to bring its other half down. So that splits out the 4. So this is the remains of the rubber. So we have some of that going up to heat exchangers, which I've already done. Some going to radio control systems, which will be in the future. Some going into the Caterium computers, which I've already done. Okay. So yeah, the rubber, we only need like one more splitter really, and we can do that later. The AI limiters, yeah, the AI limiters go to 2 places. This is one of them. So we don't need to do any more fancy splitting for them. They just come down and go in. So this just comes all the way down to here. And like that. Okay, so because this is here, the quartz is over there. I think we build this factory in that general vicinity, or maybe in this general vicinity because the rubber is also here. Yeah, this makes the most sense. Build it in this area. It's a pretty long line, actually, of manufacturers. Alright, so the rubber is the only thing which we need to do splitting related things for, and again, we can be a bit imprecise with it because it's coming directly off of a train. So this is 165.9, but we can just round that up to 180 for simplicity's sake. So let's get this going through. Have another smart splitter. So then off this way, we have a Mark III belt, which is going to be our priority, and the center will be for the radio control systems eventually. Left overflow is what it should be. Alright, so we just take some of this stuff forwards, and you get to be 60 plus 120 is 180. So then this belt can just go forwards. And that will be the rubber. So we have the rubber, check. AI limiters, check. Quartz, over there. So now we get to start making this production line. And it's going to be quite a few manufacturers. So let's get some space in for that. And then our manufacturer blueprint is helpfully labeled supercomputers. So we need 14 of these. 13 would be the minimum, but we build them in groups of 2. So that will be that. Get you into auto connect mode. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, and we're missing iron plates somehow. I guess these take a whole lot of Mark 1 belts to work. So let's just give that a minute to recharge while we get these ones powered. And then bring the power line back over to there. Alright, this is the one where the settings haven't been done, which is why some of these are red and some of them are yellow. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. We need to place another 6. So now we're at 10. And the iron plate shortage continues. Wonderful. I wonder if there's something wrong at our iron plate factory. It's not often you have to actually check your inventory. So iron plates. It's refilling relatively quickly, I guess. I mean, it could be better, but also could be a whole lot worse. Okay, so let's get the settings into these while we're waiting for that. So this is crystal oscillators. It's only going to one place. So we need 23.703 crystal oscillators. And this is the insulated crystal oscillator alt. So we get 23.703 divided by 14. And that is pretty close to 100% as usual. So now we just paste along until it's all set up properly. And then hopefully we'll have enough iron plates to almost get us finished. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, we need 2 more placements of the blueprint, which also means we're going to need that foundation to go one further across. Alright, so that one is in, and that one is in. Yeah, just barely enough. So now we paste our settings across and get the power connected. And we should be good to go. Now we just have to connect all of these guys in to the belts. Now, how much of each individual item are there? Hardly any AI limiters. Mark 3 belts of quartz and rubber. But each of these individually should be well below... Yeah, not even close. Not even close to a Mark 2 belt being necessary for the individual machines. So, let's go down here and start getting these split up. So wait, is this 14? Yeah, this is 14. So let's just, purely for the sake of convenience, because it's one thing to do a 3 decimal point precision balancer, but a 1 to 7 is a whole other story. So now it's a 1 to 8, and it's just very clean and elegant and nice. And this does unfortunately mean we're going to have to reset all of this. So this is 23.703 divided by 16 now, which gives us a bit more leeway on the production speed, if in case that is relevant. So now we have to run along and paste those new settings all the way across so that they all go slightly slower to account for the fact that there are more of them. So just keep this pasting going. And there we are. So now we can get our 1 to 8 splitters set up. So we just go like this, boom, and boom, and let's see here. Another one, we want to push the mergers in towards the center when we do this, just so that later steps we don't have to run quite as far. So that goes like that, and we need one more. there, and there. Okay. So that is phase 1. Now, if this is plastic... Oh, wait. Did I mess this up completely? Okay, no, this is entirely wrong. I pasted the supercomputer recipe instead of insulated crystal oscillator recipe. So, coincidentally is the same speed, so I guess that is still going to be right. Let's just put that in. Yeah, so that is indeed correct. So now we have to paste this all the way across. I can't believe I didn't notice that. That's so sloppy. So unbelievably sloppy. Okay, so where's the first one where we didn't paste? It's this one. Okay. So now we just have to paste all these across again. Remember, kids, make sure you do it right before you have to do it 3 times. Alright, so those all get pasted across, and now it's correct. Now it's correct, and we can look at what we're doing here. So the quartz and rubber are both less than 15, which means that even with 4 of them connected, it's still less than 60. So these ones here have 4 machines, so they're going to be just barely 60 going into them, which means that this next layer, we pop you in. These can just barely be fed by Mark 1 belts. And then we go over here and do the same thing. Why did it place it like that? There we go. Get these belts placed all the way in. So now that's good, and our next row are going to need Mark II belts. So that and that are in now. So the quartz crystals and rubber and AI limiters. Alright, so we need to figure out which one we're actually sending in this particular row, which I haven't done yet. But this can be the rubber, probably, because it's right there. It can just go straight in. The AI limiters can go around, and the quartz crystals can actually just go up to the next level. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. So this is the rubber, and it should be fine just like this. And then we just take this belt, run it along this way, and then pop that in. Okay, rubber check. Next up, AI limiters will be around the back. And those, we only need Mark 1 belts the entire way, because it's only 23 total. So let's get all those belts in. And actually, for this one, we want to push in towards the left side, so that the input belt doesn't have to go quite as far. The left side from this angle anyways. So this goes like that. And it's been a while since I've actually done it pushing in towards one side as opposed to the center. It's a bit slightly different aesthetic. But obviously just works exactly the same. So these belts all go in. And I think pushing it in towards this side also just entirely is optimal for having the items all not go as far as possible. Like, obviously the ones going all the way down to the other end will not be improved much by this, but the ones which would have like gone past their ultimate destination and then had to double back. Will be much more efficient by doing it this way. And then the downside is that we're going to have a really long belt to drag in a minute. So this one goes to there, and then all the way out a little bit more, out to there, and then our final belt, the splitter, which inputs to the entire system, goes there, and then all the way down this way. There we go. So that is that. Now we just take this belt, pop it in there, and we're good to go. So let's place some foundations out here so we can actually do that. Just like so. And then we bring the belt along. Like that. And then down this way. And then in. Alright, AI limiters, check. Next and last, we have our quartz crystals, which we're also going to put in from one side. So these just go across, and we place a whole bunch of splitters. How many quartz crystals is this? 237. So this is, we're going to have to be a little bit careful about the belt speeds, but I think it should work out to be mostly the same as the rubber's belt speeds. So those are all in. Phase 1 done. Now each of these is going to be getting like almost exactly 60. It'd be nice if it were exactly 60, because that would save some effort, but not quite. So that goes out to there. These are the last rows which will be able to accept Mark 1 belts. And then this one goes in like that, and then all the way out this way. And then we just need our final input here, which is going to be Mark II and Mark II. If you could place properly, we're right on the edge of the foundation here, which means it's, I guess, technically a little bit easier to make sure that we don't misalign it. If it gets close to being off a line, it'll go completely wacky. Alright, so that is all set up. And now we just bring this over to the quartz crystals. So this foundation, we're going to bring you over to there-ish. And then have you go down a step. And then this connects into there. And this can come down to this layer. And then we'll be good to go. So we just drag this belt back. And actually, I want to be a little bit space efficient here, because that big wide open area there could absolutely be used for a production line. So I just want to leave that open in case we end up doing that. So we're just going to sort of skirt around the edges there. Actually, does curve mode look good here? Yeah, curve mode looks pretty good. I've never quite been a big fan of curve mode, but we'll use it in that one spot, which honestly just sort of makes it look worse. Yeah, no, we're just going to go default mode for that. There we go. I mean, it's not exactly an elegant looking set of belts, no matter what we do with it. But it works, and that's the important part. So the quartz crystals are going along, and they should make their way in, and then give us crystal oscillators. Crystal oscillators. What an absolutely annoying part. It's just so incredibly slow to make in any quantities. Like, all of this is for less than 24 of them. It's just so many machines per item. Alright. Enough complaining. We have some fixing to do, so you need that. You have your settings. You have the rubber starting to show up. Alright, so then we just go over here and we need to get some room in for a sink. Alright, so we add in all that space, pop the sink down, and smart splitter. Alright, power the sink up, and then whenever the inputs get around to it, they will start producing. Okay, I just saw yellow light over there. Let's figure out what's wrong. Based on the copper wire belt being backed up, I assume it's the battery shortage. But let's just check before we make assumptions. No, it's EM control rod shortage by 50%. That's actually a huge issue. Okay, EM control rods, what is your problem? You also have a yellow light. You aren't getting enough stators. Also by 50%. Which is a colossal shortage. I mean, I guess in terms of the number of stators we make in total, it's not a huge shortage. So what is your problem? So we're like a couple stators short here. They're not going into the sink, at least in large quantities. And all of these are showing 100% productivity. So what is going on? It could be that this splitting arrangement over here isn't quite perfect. Although, no, wait, this goes directly into these machines. So there's no sink here that these are connected to. And, okay. There are a lot of stators in here. I bet this split here is not quite perfect. So how many stators is this supposed to be? Stators into motors. 71.11. That should be how many stators this is. Let me guess, you're like 73. Yeah, I mean, just a quick glance, that it's very close, right? So if it's only 50% off, that means it's like 2 stators off here, which is almost nothing. So it's not surprising that I missed it, assuming that I did in fact miss something here. So we have stators going in here. We have this looping back at 60 a minute. So let's see, how does this work? We have a Mark 6 in there. And so that's just going to be a mainline thing. So this is Mark 2. This is 120. And we send most of that back. So we get 40 out. Plus what looks like 60 for 100. Yes, so this belt is 100. And then this belt, so this belt is 100, this belt is 60. So this 100, we branch you down to, let's see, we send 2/3 of it back. and then we send another 2/3 of that back. So this is like a ninth. 100 divided by 9 is 11.1 repeating. So this should be that. So where is it going wrong? Is this not 100, or is this not a 1 to 9 splitter? Okay, you saw 105 briefly. Is that... This shouldn't be as inconsistent as it is. How is that happening? Is that connection correct? Okay, I mean, it looks like this is 100. Now, if this is... Yeah, this is showing like 74. So somewhere in the 70... So there's like 1 or 2 extras in there. So that's 100. This should be, what, 2/9. Oh wait, did I just see this belt here is buffer? That's the problem. Alright, this needs to be a Mark II belt, so that we can get enough stators going on this loop back. And then we just need... Let's see. I think we need to add some space onto the belt, just artificially. And it should just work now. Alright, so now this is looping back properly. This should drop down from its previous stable point. So what was happening was that this belt here was 100, and what, 2/3 of 100 is 66, but this was a Mark I belt, so we weren't sending it all back properly, which caused all the rest of these ratios to get messed up. So now you should be 71.1, and technically you're 71.11 repeating instead of just 71.11, but I think that's fine. It's probably close enough, right? Like, if we're gonna miss 1 in 1,000, then I think it's like it's not worth fixing to go from something this elegant to something as clunky as one of those things over there, just to save like slightly more than 1,000th off. Yeah, I don't care about that quite as much. It should work out to be precise enough to not cause problems anyways. And it's actually a good thing we caught it when we did, because eventually this would have saturated, and then it would have worked because it was saturated. I never would have noticed that there was anything wrong. So that's good. Alright, so now the stators... And it's going to take a while to catch back up, probably. So this is down to 71 now. These little gaps here are slightly more regular, which means that an extra 2-ish stators are going to be heading down this belt and making their way over to the EM control rods. Yeah, it's kind of funny that, like, because of how the overflowing system works, a tiny little error like that causes a massive issue over here. And it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before this catches back up. So, I guess we just ignore that for now. So crystal oscillators are done, right? Let's see, where were we before I noticed that problem? We had just, I believe, just finished crystal oscillators. I'm trying to think if there was any other steps we hadn't quite done yet. It looks like we got the sync in and everything. Alright, yeah, so I think that's all for that. So, the steps we have remaining in the entire process are make radio control systems, make cooling devices, make OC supercomputers, make neural quantum processors. We are very close now. So, let's do the radio control systems next, I guess. Cooling devices should be relatively simple. The radio control systems are going to be hard, though. So, we need to take a whole bunch of circuit boards, all the ones that we didn't send to the Caterium computers, and a whole bunch of rubber, all that we haven't sent elsewhere already, crystal oscillators, and a whole bunch of aluminum casings. So, the aluminum casings, we'll start with those, just bring them down to this floor, because those are going to be the farthest trip. So, let's head on up. Aluminum casings. These are the all-clad sheets. The aluminum casings are, let's see, I believe these ones here, yeah, these guys, which are all overclocked in summer sloops to insanity. So we need 1,422 aluminum casings, which is kind of a big deal. So this is all 1,200, right? So these guys together are 293.032 times 4 is, yeah, just barely shy of 1,200 there. And then this is pre-split, and then we have that. So we're just going to take these two belts down a couple layers. And this is actually not trivial, because this is a cramped area of the factory. But if we just put our belts in there and there, it should work out, unless there's even more stuff on the layer below. Please say there isn't. Okay, we're fine down to there, and then we're fine below that. Yes, alright, so that should be fine. So we just have to get these guys out to that spot. So that all goes in. And now we just have to get these set up. So that is there, and then the other one is not overlapping with it, but immediately next to it. And then these are going to go down like that. And now we just get, let's see. So this is one of them, and this is the other. So yeah, in here is a perfectly good spot for it. So we just pop down two of those, and this one doesn't need it necessarily. So that's left any center overflow already preset. This one we need to set up because we haven't used it at all. Right any center overflow. So this loops around that way and goes in. And so these guys are going to drop down to here. And then we're going to get them another layer down. Oh, is this the weird one that's off, that's misaligned? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so we're just gonna blast right through this. There we go. And now, one more floor down. And we are here. So let's get that area foundationed up. And then bring these belts down. So So we are going to need to balance these belts at some point. So we might as well do that now, because currently there's a lot on one of them and not much on the other, which is bad because that makes it very, very difficult to split them properly. So all we have to do to fix that is, let's see here, where we want this to go. I guess just out this way. Let's put some of that in. So we get a splitter there, and then we leave plenty of space and a splitter there. And then they merge up, and they merge up again over that way. So each of these splits into and sends half of their output into this belt, half of their output into that belt. And then we just have to bring this one up and over and back down. And that one just goes straight forwards. Alright, and now we can have that done. So now we have two evenly distributed belts, each with like 710-ish aluminum casings on them. And that'll be important for when we eventually have to split these into the machines. So next up, let's see. Crystal oscillators are there. Rubber is right there. So it's the circuit boards is our main objective now. We have to get up 2 batches of circuit boards in 2 different production lines. So this is one of them. So we take this and we have center overflow, so that just pop down there. And this is going to be like 80, so we get that in. And then the other circuit boards, is that this giant line here? No, that's stators. I just sworn, oh, is it probably one of these guys down here? It's probably this one. Yeah, here we go. This should be our 150-ish circuit boards, and it's showing 100%. Alright, so this comes down, left any center overflow. Okay, then this drops down through this level, which it's going to need a floor hole for. So then we just go down there. I've been slightly off more times today in my floor hole placement than I have been like in the entire rest of this entire save combined. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay. Anyways, this comes down. The other circuit boards are like over there somewhere. So these are just going to run along in this general vicinity. So let's get some more foundation placed down here. Don't know if we're going to use it for anything, but we might as well have it. So this comes down. And our setup over there is probably where we're going to be heading with these, because that's just where everything else is. So this belt just comes on over and just keeps going. It's going to have to sneak through some of these other random production lines, but that's fine. We've got plenty of space on this floor for now. And, well, I mean, we don't even have that many steps left, so I guess I don't even need to give that for now caveat. We should be fine. Alright, so that's over here. Now this, I assume, is the other circuit board setup. Let's just pop up to confirm that. Yes, it is. And this is like 80-ish of them. So this needs to be a Mark II belt. And, okay, I definitely don't want to be crossing over the rubber at like an important part. Although the other circuit board, okay, we need to cross over the other way so that the circuit boards can combine up and not be in the way of the rubber again. So that goes back there and then comes back down to ground level. Generally want to keep those crossovers relatively limited, but they've wound up with quite a few of them today for whatever reason. Alright, so then those combine up with those to give us all of our circuit boards that we need. And that should be a Mark III belt, I think. Actually, let's confirm. 154 plus 82. Yeah. Plenty of room within a Mark III belt for all that. So we have circuit boards, check. We have rubber, check. We have aluminum casings, check. And we have crystal oscillators, check. Alright, so now we just have to make a line of 16 manufacturers. Let's fill up my inventory with iron plates and concrete preemptively. And while I'm staring at my inventory, I can get rid of some of these things that I don't necessarily need. The problem with all these ores, right, is that they're pretty easy to just pick up again. Okay, the screws technically are useful to have on hand for the awesome shop. So I can actually just dimensional upload those, so I don't have to worry about it. And then most of this stuff just gets destroyed until I inevitably pick it back up again. I don't need all of those. Alright, that should be plenty of space. Okay. So, while I was doing that, got a couple more iron plates. But we're going to need even more. And we're also going to need a whole bunch of these. So we need 8 foundations, squares. 3, 4, 5. Did I not leave enough? I didn't leave enough room here. Okay, so I guess we just have to go out another row then to get around that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And yeah, if I counted right, we need one more there, I think. I have no idea if I counted right, but just in case. Alright, so let's make sure that those are all pulled in properly. So we've got tons of iron plates, tons of concrete. Will it be enough? Who can say? But let's start putting these blueprints in and see what happens. So we get 1 and 2, and I'm falling. Hang on, let me catch myself real quick. So that's 3. Okay, let's find an area with power, and yeah, we need to bring power over here anyway so that I can power these machines, so that's fine. So the power line just goes, and that's too long, so we'll have to stop one more time and connect up to there. Okay. So that power line is in. Iron plate supply is doing its thing, hopefully. So we have 3 of these blueprints in. Let's get these 3 powered. So we can fit one more over this way. Alright, so we are halfway through constructing these. We haven't quite run out of iron plates, although it's probably going to happen like instantaneously when we try to build the second half. So let's just get that going. So this is 5, 6. Oh, we might actually make it. 7. Oh, spoke too soon. We're out of concrete, not iron plates. Alright, well the concrete should regenerate super fast, so that's not a concern. Let's just run these power lines over, and by the time we're done with that, concrete should be back. Let's make sure I'm counting correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So we need one more of these rows. One more goes in. Alright, so that is all the manufacturers built. And that gets powered up as well. Now we need to set the recipe to radio control system. Radio control system, where are you? Radio control system. And we need 71.11 divided by 16. There we go. And now we just paste those settings all the way across. And almost there. And then we just have to get the inputs actually built in. So this goes through, and we're done. I didn't make any dumb mistakes, right? No, I did not. Alright, so now each of these have 4 inputs. So let's work on the aluminum casings first, because that's the highest speed. So those are going to be more than a Mark 1 belt per machine, which is quite troublesome. So those will be this far left belt, whatever that is. Just picking arbitrarily. So this gets the Mark 2 upgrade. And we just have to not miss any. Because if we miss just one, then that'll cause problems. Alright. So that is that. Then we drop down to this layer, and we need to upgrade these, and that's actually a pretty convenient one for it to be. Although it looks like there are concealed Mark 1 belts in here, which we're also going to need to upgrade, and that's gonna suck. Oh wait, I've been missing like every other group of these. Because these are in batches of 2, so these ones here also, all the ones on this layer facing this direction need to be upgraded. So these all go in, and I sure hope I didn't miss any. I guess I'll be able to tell if I did, because the belts will back up a bunch. Speaking of the belts backing up a bunch, this wire belt is backed up a huge amount. But these are showing 100%, so it's probably fine. And it's just because of these internal buffers all being filled. So let's just yoink some items off of this belt, and hopefully that should get it back down to a somewhat reasonable level, so that we just want it to be constantly flowing and not buffering like it was right there. Just for aesthetic reasons, nothing specifically serious about that. Alright, so now the aluminum casings, they need to go up onto this level now. So we bring that across, and then we get a couple of floor holes. And I think technically these could be Mark 5 belts, but they're super fast, so we're going to use Mark 6s just to make sure. There we go. And then those go up to there. Okay. So now we just need to connect all of these up and balance them. So, oh, we need to get the rest of these belts upgraded too. This is such a pain. Okay. So we start with these tiny ones in here, which are like impossible to target. And we just have to get all of them. So these go through. And they keep going through. And they just keep going. And they just keep going. Alright, so that is all the in-place upgrades needed. Everything else, we just need to keep track of the bits past that. So the aluminum casings here are 88 each, which means immediately here they need Mark 3s. So let's get those in to there and there. And then another row of those in here. That is not what I wanted to do, of course. I wanted to do that and that. Okay, then we have the other half, which goes like this. And like this. Okay, so now we have 8 down to 4, and now we just have to get the rest of these in. Now, hang on. How many is this gonna be? Each of these is 88.8. So this is like 180. This is like 360. So this whole line is like 720. So if each of these is like 360, then that's a Mark IV belt. So that's the number I needed to know. So Mark IV belt goes out to there, and just like that. Then we get this one in to do the same thing on the other side. Belt heads down and in like that. Okay, now we just give some room in this area, and then these belts go down this way. So you need to sort of get out of the way of the other one, which is right here. You go into there, and you just also sort of awkwardly go diagonal into there. And that is our aluminum casing supply in. Okay, next up we have probably just the crystal oscillators can go next, and they'll be up this side, I guess. No particular reason, but might as well. And they're going to be coming in from one side, so we're going to be doing that. And we need like almost none of them per machine. So that will be relatively straightforward. So we just run this all the way down. And a little bit more. Alright, that one goes in. And that's that. Now, yeah, it's funny going from the 1400 a minute to the 23 a minute. The numbers are very different here. So this just comes along into that. And let's even just start bringing its belt along because we know that's going to be needed. And this will save us from having to fly all the way back out there. Okay, and then this one also has its belt go out this way. So we just get both of these to come down in their respective positions, and then we get splitter, splitter, out to there, out to there, and then forwards and forwards. Okay, now we just grab our crystal oscillators and bring them over to here. So they need to go down one level. Just like that. And that did auto-connect. And then we need this to just sort of come over and line up. So we have a 4 for this to go down onto. So that then goes down onto the floor. And we bring you around. And around a bit more. And around a bit more. And then in. Alright. Crystal oscillators. Check once we get this. Right any center overflow. Set that sync up. And alright, that's 2 out of 4 done. Now we need rubber and circuit boards to go down to the lower level. So let's start by getting this balanced. And this will probably be the rubber. I haven't quite decided yet, actually. Okay, I do need to decide because they're significantly different in their speeds. So, the rubber... The circuit boards are right here, and the rubber is right over there. So it doesn't really make a difference. Let's have this be the rubber. Now, it should be the circuit boards. The reason being the circuit boards are right up by the center of this, because the rubber is off to the side. So the other one is going to have to go around, and the rubber will be easier. The rubber will have an easier time getting around like that. So this is going to be circuit boards, which are 154 total, meaning that these can definitely be Mark 1 belts, at least for the first step. So this all gets built up. And let's see, so that's that side, then we have to do this side. So we start that from here so that the splitters move towards the center as we go up, like that. Okay, so let's see here. So for the exact ratios then, circuit boards are 14.8. So this belt here, or no, we need to drop down to the circuit board layer. This belt here is going to be 30. So this next belt we build is going to be just slightly less than 60, which means it can still be a Mark 1. And then the one after that will be a Mark 2. Okay, so yeah, that goes in there. Get that built in. And then we head over here, get that built. Okay, so then we split between these guys on a Mark II belt. those belts go in. And then finally, I believe just a Mark III belt back to the circuit boards. There we go. Alright, circuit boards are now in. And then last but not least, we have the rubber, which is pretty fast. Not as fast as the aluminum, but still it's half as fast. So the first row is going to be 60. The second row is going to be Mark II. So yeah, as soon as we start placing these in, they're instantly going to have to be Mark II belts. We just don't need to do any upgrading like we did with the previous one. So these are carrying almost 90. And then the next ones will be carrying almost 180. So let's get these built in before I start confusing myself thinking about other numbers. So these are carrying almost 90, which means they need to be Mark II. And I've done that twice now, where I had it lined up, but then I moved, and it got unaligned and broke. Alright, so that is all in. So these belts are carrying almost 90. Now we need our next row of belts, which are going to be carrying almost 180. So this comes back this way, and then we'll get input into there. So that connects up, and that connects up. And then this is going to need to be a Mark IV belt eventually. So let's get it built in. And it just gets brought along here. And then this one is going to be the almost 180 that we had. So it's going to come out to here. And doing it this way is much more time efficient, but also requires you to juggle multiple numbers in your head at once. Which I don't normally do it this way, but this time I feel like it. So you get a Mark III, you get a Mark IV, and then, alright, so this was supposed to be a Mark III, that was supposed to be a Mark IV, and then we have our 700 some input here, which will be a Mark V. So that just wraps around the edge of that, and then comes back in towards the rubber, which let's hop over to the rubber now and just bring that forwards. So that is this splitter here. Yeah, we have a center overflow set up already. So this comes out like that and then goes forwards a bit. Does this fit properly with the foundation blocks? It does. Cool. So we can just get a couple of those foundation blocks in. And then we just bring the conveyor belt up and in. And that's rubber. That is the last item that we need for the radio control system so that we can do that. And then this is going to be 71 total output. So the output belt here is going to be Mark II. Technically, most of it doesn't need to be Mark II, only just like the last couple. But we're going to get it all upgraded anyways, just for consistency's sake, so that it's easier to tell what exactly I'm looking at. Alright, so this all gets built up. And there we go, all done. So then this gets expanded out. Give us some room for the sink. And, okay, there's a belt that goes down there, so we need to be a little bit more space efficient here. That's fine. We still have plenty of room. So we pop the sink in like that. And a smart splitter. That last one almost avoided getting upgraded, which is funny because it's literally the most important one. Alright, so now that is all in, and we're good to go. So the rubber is just filing in the last little bit so that this can start up. 8, 29, 30. There we go. So now we are officially making radio control units. And that will take 40 seconds for the first one to finish. But it looks like all of the rest of them... Yeah, I guess this would have been the last one to start, right? Maybe not? How's this one so far ahead of the next one over? That one should have gotten its stuff first. Oh, I see. It's because of these alternating bits. So technically this would be the one with the longest belt, but only by a little bit. So we should see, yes, radio control units on the belt. So that should be going along at 70-ish per minute. And, I mean, we're almost there. So all we have left for this entire factory, we have to make cooling devices, which will involve working around the nitrogen gas. Then we have to make OC supercomputers from the cooling devices and the radio control units. And then we need to input the fixite trigons and the time crystals, make photonic matter, make neural quantum processors, and deal with the dark matter byproduct. And that's it. So, I think that's a good spot to stop. Thanks, Evan, for hanging out. Had a lot of fun with this factory, and we're coming right up at the end of it, so we should finish this up next time. So we'll be doing Satisfactory again on Thursday. So if you are interested in that, I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing Factorio, where we are starting to grind up to legendary quality machines and modules and everything. So that's exciting. And then we'll be back in Satisfactory, like I said, on Thursday. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure to follow if you haven't already, so that you know when I'm live and what I'm doing. And stop by next time. Thanks, Ev, for hanging out.